TLT Talks. We have a very exciting and hot topic for you today with someone that I find to be quite exceptional. Super brilliant dude. Absolutely one of the hardest working people in our industry. He should be coming on three, two, one, and there he is. Hugo Cortes. How's it going, my brother?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, I was just saying that I think you're a master of your craft. That the topic we're going to be talking about today, hot and exciting. But why don't you take a minute to introduce yourself to our audience? Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is I'm a huge nerd and I talk too fast.
Ditto,
Yeah,
ditto,
yeah, yeah.
ditto.
That's the big things. But yeah, so I had a career in digital marketing and then eventually found my way into real estate. Worked at a startup that got acquired by Realtor.com, then went to go work for Compass, got laid off from Compass and was like, what am I going to do next? And so sort of stumbled on, I could probably, be an entrepreneur. And so 7 years later, we work with like over 1,500 Compass agents every year. So it's just really talking to real estate agents and figuring out how do I help them tell their story using marketing.
Love it, love it. Yeah, I mean, some of the highlights. He's being a little modest. Over $15 million in marketing spend, 9,000 something campaigns. I think you were one of the youngest directors at Compass too, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, youngest hired, not promoted, but
All
yeah,
right.
it just meant that I constantly felt like I don't belong here. What am I doing here? And it makes you work harder, which is good,
That's
right?
right. That's exactly right. Well, obviously, it's been such a pleasure getting to know you, and the work with you together is so much fun. And I was just saying before you came on, and I think I said it to you too. Like, I really appreciate someone that is a master of their craft. There's so many people that get into an industry, especially in the way of entrepreneurship. There's no quality control test for entrepreneurs. And you can always tell when you're working with someone whose give a shit meter is at an all-time high, who really takes ownership in what they do. And you, sir, are an exemplar in all those ways. So what a pleasure. What a pleasure.
Yeah.
Well, and on the show we love to have fun. So I love to ask all of my guests, give us a fun fact. Give us a fun fact about yourself.
When I was 19, I was a bank teller, and it was a Saturday morning, 9:30 in the morning, and we got robbed. And
Okay.
the bank robber was like, "You come with me. I need you to walk me out of the." He was afraid we are gonna lock him inside the bank, and so he took me as hostage. Turns out that we called the cops. They chased him down. He dropped his cell phone. This guy had robbed with his accomplice over 20 banks across the Southern
Wow.
California like area, three different counties, and so they tried him in three different counties, and they always needed me to testify to be like, "Hey, so he took you hostage, right?" And then he dropped this phone. And that's how we were able to trace him down. And so they couldn't find the guy. They finally found him in a motel with a bunch of like guns. They caught him outside of a Carl's Jr. getting lunch. But yeah.
Wow. You know what? Not all heroes wear capes, man. you know, that's it. All we needed was the right nerd, and bang, bank robber
Yeah.
caught. That's
It,
it. That's
in
it.
in bank teller training, they tell you the money's insured. You're not. And I was
That's
like,
right.
oh, okay, that's good to know.
That's right. That's right. That's right. All right. Well, so you are such a force in the space of digital advertising. I thought we could take the audience through some, myth versus fact, and then, we'll get into the sexy AI and all that stuff down the road. So, fact or fiction? This is always a good conversation. Fact or fiction? Your phone is always listening.
So many people ask me this. So technically it's fiction. It's not really happening, but we feel like it's happening, right? You
Mm,
all of a sudden you tell your wife you're thinking about like going to Hawaii with the family, and the next day you see ads for Hawaii. You're like,
that's
that's
right.
gotta
All
be
of a
listening to
sudden,
me, right? We just
or
leave
Siri
so
just turns on. Do you want Hawaii?
we leave so many clues about what we're thinking about, and usually like you forget why you were inspired to go to Hawaii in the first place. And it's because you have a
Mm,
friend who went and you saw their vacation. And so just these algorithms are so good at being able to track all of our data and what we're doing and our behaviors, and then being able to connect with those advertisers. So like it's now gotten to the point where it's really creepy. Like if you're a consumer, how much data is being collected about us. The one that I love telling people about is like Kroger, the grocery company, now a third of their net income, like the third of the money they make is on selling the data on their loyalty cards. Because like a company that sells, for example, alcohol, like one of the dirty secrets of like alcohol and like chip companies is they make most of their money from the people who like who do to take it like to an extreme, right? People who eat too many chips or people who drink too much, they're their best customers. And so they're trying to figure out, okay, this person who always comes to the grocery store and buys the pint of vodka, how do I sell them more, right?
Right.
And so Kroger's making so much money just selling that this person all of a sudden bought a pregnancy test. What does that mean,
Mm.
right?
Hmm.
There's right now, I think something like 90% of all period tracking apps are just actually selling your data, and they're asking for your
Wow.
location. And the reason why pregnant women are so valuable is because start to think how much money is on the back end of this, right? Like not only furnishing the nursery, not just the car seat, but also like the baby shower, baby clothes. So like if I know you're going to have a kid, if I'm Target or Amazon, I want to get you for the next 18 years of selling you stuff, right? Because every
Wow.
weekend, I have a 4-year-old, I'm going to birthday parties and I'm shopping by Target to buy gifts for the kid, right? And so I'm like, they've got me. So of course they're willing to spend big bucks on who's pregnant, who's going to have a kid, because that's
Right.
super valuable to the business.
Sure, of course. Yeah. It's like you just imagine someone sitting there more. Well, the truth is, so I do a lot of business coaching, and one thing that I think most entrepreneurs fail to identify is the lifetime value of a client. So, right,
Mm,
in this exact example you're referring to, yeah, of course, I want to know if I know that the lifetime value of a client from for the next 18 years, as you mentioned, is whatever X. Of course, I'm be willing to evolve, identify, invest, whatever it needs to be to be able to take advantage of that profit. And that's one ideal client. Once it turns into a persona and a scale, holy moly. All
yeah.
right. Well, so then look, what we're going to try to do for you guys, the audience, we're going to try to do. This is obviously, Hugo's specialty is working with real estate entrepreneurs to help them, scale their listings and scale their business and etc. However, let me just make it very clear that this is for everyone. The practices, the principles, the strategy, the tactics, everything we talk about on today's show, whether it's an apartment or a car or a house or a service or a software app, it translates across everything. And so I was joking around with Hugo in our pre-show, and I was saying, no, this is for anyone that's got a dollar and a dream. Advertising yourself, getting yourself out there is so critical that for anyone that wants to do anything at all in getting their name out there, this will be helpful to that. So, knowing what we know, knowing what you just shared with us, how does one take advantage of this?
So, I mean, people are taking advantage of different ways. Like one of my favorite like stories that came out, like I think it was in 2021, was so like you stop to think about like all the apps that are tracking our location on our phone, right? And one of my favorite party tricks, actually, this is a good one, is tell people to go to their settings and then search for the word location services. It'll actually show you a list of every app on your phone and if they're selling or if they have access to your real-time location. So you're looking for
Mm,
things that say either never or only while I'm using, right? Like if you're using Yelp and I'm looking for lunch or sushi or whatever, I want to know whether I'm at home or at the office.
sure.
But there's other apps that sometimes when you downloaded it, it asks you, do you want to share your location? Sometimes, always, never. If you hit always, in the background, it's always running and it knows exactly where you are. Dating apps, especially, right? They're
Mm.
like, hey, do you want to know where like sexy hot signals are near you? And you're like, yes, always know my location, right? The gay dating app Grinder found a way to
Mm,
monetize that data and said, hey, does anyone want to buy kind of this anonymous location data? And
mm.
there was a Catholic nonprofit who raised $4 million to buy that data because they're just like, hey,
Wow.
we want to know what's going on in that side of the world, and we think it could be interesting. And so they raised the money, and the first thing they did with it is they looked at points of interest, and they said, okay, there's this inner sanctum of like organization where like the cardinal lives, where the bishops hang out. Has there ever been someone who's been on that app who's been in these inner circles? And they found a single iPhone who'd been there, and they're like,
Wow.
who is it, right? Who amongst our ranks is in this behavior? And like regardless of whether how we feel about it, the fact that they
Yeah.
had this, we're able to buy
Yeah.
this location data. And the thing though was they knew that it was like phone ID 129999, but they didn't know who that was. But they were able to triangulate that person. Like, where else have they gone? And they were able to find that that phone had also gone to a lake house. And there's a
Mm,
priest whose family had a lake house on that lake, and they're
mm.
able to figure out it was this person. And so
Wow.
he ended up resigning, right? But it just goes to show how even though it's anonymous location data, this stuff is so powerful
Yeah.
when we're as advertisers, right? In March of this year, the FBI director Kash Patel, he was being interviewed by Congress, and they asked him like point blank, "Hey, is the FBI buying consumer data?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's
Of
legal, and
course.
it's way easier than getting a subpoena."
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my gosh, right?
Wow.
They're now using this to fuel investigations of the FBI because it's out there, right? And so it just kind of like starts to get really creepy really fast about
Yeah.
how what we're doing is out there. And so there's companies like I know some of my favorites is like a lot of now smart TVs. Like a lot of us now use apps on our TVs. The state of Texas sued some TV manufacturers because once every 100 milliseconds, they're taking a screenshot of what was on your TV to be
Oh
able
my
to sell
God.
that to like Netflix and
Wow.
YouTube because they want to know how much time are people spending on Netflix versus YouTube versus cable. And so the TV manufacturers were like, well, what do you know if I'm taking screenshots of your TV and then selling that in the back end? So like there's all these arrangements where like as a consumer, like I am creeped out, but as an advertiser, I'm like, oh, I could use that somehow.
Right. Oh my God, that's unbelievable. Okay, so let's say that you are in the space, you are a let's start I'm going to give you three different examples. Let's say you're a real estate professional, maybe you're an agent, maybe you're on a team, maybe you have some sort of marketing role for a team or for a company, let's say the real estate industry. I'm going to totally make it up. I'm going to go a curveball. Or maybe let's say you're in the what's a good place to dabble? Something to do with banking, like Wall Street banking. No, it's a little boring. Let's say
So
it's products or services. Sorry, you want to say something?
yeah, a good one is just like wealth management, right?
Sure. Okay, good. Yeah, that's right. Well, I'm just thinking of a product or a service where you would use these tools to expand your reach, either for new clients,
Mhm.
or maybe you'd use this to somehow find out things about your clients to see, not in the creepy, I want to know what they do in Grindr way, but like, okay, I want to learn more about my clients and how I can serve them better.
Yeah.
So let's say, how would we use these things in the way of either learning about our current client database or, finding new clients? Like what would be your recommendation for something like that?
Yeah. Two really simple examples that we use all the time. So your CRM is obviously really valuable, right? Regardless of your business, the idea that you have a client list of people who have given you permission to be able to have their information is so, so valuable. Being able to take that list of email addresses and turn that list of, call it 1,000 email addresses, into a list of 7,000 devices, right? A company like Yahoo, for example, they'll know that Eugene at yahoo.com is a user. Well, every time you log into your Yahoo email address, they're tracking what device you're using to log into your email. So is it your
Mm,
personal cell phone? Is it your laptop? Is it the tablet that you have by your bedside? They will then sell that information to anyone who wants it and say, hey, Eugene at yahoo.com is this iPad, this iPhone, that's his old iPhone, his wife's iPhone. And so now, if I'm an advertiser, I can say, hey, here's my list of 7,000 devices. I want my brand ads to go to the devices owned by my CRM. So for like a real estate professional, right, where you're always trying to create more touch points because someone transacts on average, every 7 years, it's hard to stay in touch with these folks. But if you can target them when they're just searching the web and, they're looking for a pasta recipe on a Wednesday night and all of a sudden they see their agent on, eatinglight.com, they're like, oh my gosh, that's my real estate agent. They have no idea that we're targeting them based on their email address and their
mm,
device. They just know that, oh my gosh, how serendipitous. And a lot of
right.
times we'll see those clients take a screenshot and text you and be like, oh my gosh, what are the chances I got your ad? And now that's a conversation like, oh my God, how are you? How are
Mm,
the family? And so that's a really good one where like your CRM is really powerful and just targeting that really warm audience. The second one, right, where we're targeting maybe a cold audience, right? I've had discussions with people who are like wealth advisors who are like, hey, I'm trying to get a certain caliber of client. How do I get in front of them? The fact that we can like geofence a country club and say, hey, if your device has been at this country club or at the clubhouse for this country club, or it's been at this
mm,
private social club, or right now we have a lot of for like the Super Bowl, I had an agent who was like, can I target the private airport? Right? Because all these private jets are flying in. If you are on this tarmac, I don't know the difference between someone who's a bag handler and someone who's like the owner of the private jet. But the fact that we can track that their location has been here, because all you need is one app on your phone that's selling your location data, and now I can target people. And so,
mm.
like the easy part for me is how do I get your message in front of people? I would say the hardest part is like, what's the
What's the
message?
message? What's the
Right?
message? Yeah.
Because even if you're a
Yeah.
really amazing financial advisor, like, okay, now I can put that ad in front of someone, but like, what's going to make them pick up the phone? And that's more of a conversation about like, tell me about the service or the product and like, why do people buy it and how are they going to get to respond? But I think a lot of times business owners will get stuck on I don't know how to get in front of the audience. And I tell them like, that's easy for me. Here's the hard part. What do you say
Yeah.
that's convincing?
That's right. That's right. Do you know, it's funny. We constantly talk about, I'm on both sides of the coin. I receive a lot of coaching. I've done all the coaching in the world. Tony Robbins, anyways, I've done all the coaching in the world. And, with my team, I'm the primary coach. And I think the hardest question, I think probably one of the hardest questions to answer, and the one that almost never gets asked, is what do you want? We tend to start and just kind of go and alternately said, what's the outcome or what am I optimizing for? And it's like
Hmm.
so often, either with my clients or my team or whoever it is, we'll find ourselves in a conversation and I'll just ask a simple question like why? And I could just see there's a body language that says I hadn't really considered that. And what's really interesting is what almost always happens immediately is not a pause. I didn't think about that. It's the brain's need to provide an answer, not to look foolish. So then some nonsense comes out, to which, then the work of disarming all that starts. And so, yeah, it's like, so, from a messaging standpoint, what a brilliant approach from a messaging standpoint to get beyond yourself, to put yourself in the shoes, in the mind, the heart, the soul of your ideal client, who their lifetime value, and
Yeah.
say that person in regards to this thing, what do they want? What are they optimizing for? What are their pain points? What are they experiencing? Come up with a solution for that, and then put that in the ad. My God, like what a powerful tool.
So I'll tell you, I've met with like thousands of agents at this point, and one of my favorite questions, just like yours, is like, why do your clients hire you? Right? It's a very
Hmm.
simple question, and usually like I'll get an answer, and I probe harder, right? And I poke, and I go, really? You really think that's why they hire you? And they're like, well, that's what they say. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
well, hold on, because I think a lot of times when clients are looking to buy a service, or especially from a provider, I think they buy first with their brain. But as they get to
Hmm.
know you, they fall in love with you as the person, and then they're
Yep.
kind of buying with their heart. And so when
Yep.
we ask them at the end of the transaction or whatever, and we go, why'd you go with me? All they're talking about is heart. And so when I
Yep.
have an agent, they lead with like, people love me for the service and the heart. And I go, are you sure? Or is it because
Yeah.
you were an amazing expert and they were impressed by your brain first?
That's
And
right.
they fell in love
That's
with you.
right. That's
So I
right.
think that's a really big one where in marketing terms, we start talking about how like ads, especially like I'm an ads guy. I hate ads. If an ad is irrelevant
Mhm.
to me, it's just spam, right?
Yep.
But like I have a 4-year-old. If you're going to show me Hello Kitty pajamas, that's not an ad. That's part of my life. I'm buying, add to cart, right? That's not an ad anymore. It's something that I want
Yep.
in my life. And so I
Yep.
think again, with like when we're talking about marketing and telling the story, it's like the hard part is like I know it's your brand and it's your dollars, but like no one cares about you, right? Like that's kind of
Yep.
true. And so
That's right.
how do we get them to care? And it's being able to say, don't let's not talk about our expertise. Let's talk about how I solve your problems. And like I love it when I'm like, let's talk about the problems that a couple is fighting about in bed at night. And being like, hey, you have this thing that's bringing conflict and it's and you're not sure how to solve it. I'm an expert at that thing. Let me
That's
help
it.
you.
That's it.
That is what gets people to pick up the phone.
That's it. Well, that's most commercials, right? I mean, it's gotten really absurd. Do you sleep at night? Do you breathe? We've gotten through it, right? I mean, it's gotten a little bit absurd, but the intention was state what the actual constraint of the problem is and provide the solution. I mean, now it's gotten crazy, but
Yeah.
all right, well, let's move on. Thank you. This is so helpful. This is so, so helpful. Actually, Dale Carnegie wrote a book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I mean, he wrote it over 100 years ago, and he said the reason people do business with you is people do business with people they like and trust. And at the heart of it, like whether it becomes a little bit about what came first, the chicken or the egg. Whether that's the beginning, they met you
Yeah.
and they just had a feeling, and usually that feeling, also known psychologically as rapport, comes from something spiritual, the way you vibe, the way you talk, the way you speak, the way connecting with them. But also, if what you're saying makes them feel, I'm at point A, I need to get to point B. And for me to bridge that gap, I will get there faster or easier or somehow better with you. I'm gonna like you and value you. And so they're both so important. Like if you're an expert in your craft, but you're just a jerk, like okay, you'll win some people, but never. If you're so likable, but
Yeah.
you're incompetent, okay, fine. But you put the two together, and we were joking around, you and I, that marketing is the price you pay for being unoriginal. But you put likability and expertise together, and all of a sudden, you don't need to do much marketing. It kind of does its own
Okay.
thing.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I was walking my dog once and I saw a roof roofer who was talking to the homeowner. They just finished the job, right? And he's just like, all right, so are you happy with the work that we did and everything? And the homeowner was like, yeah, super excited. And this, I could sense it coming. This is where he was going to ask for a review, but he did something I'd never seen someone do before. He said, my boss, actually, if you write a really quick Google review, will tip me 20, like $50 out of his pocket. Like, would you mind? And the homeowner is like, wait, your
Of
boss has to pay
course.
you $50? He busts out a couple
That's
sentences, and I
smart.
was like, that was so smart. And then the next day, again, I'm walking the dog, and apparently there was some sort of issue with the roof. And so the next day, instead of the husband, he's talking to the wife. And so I see, his truck outside again, and I'm just walking by, and it happens again. And he's like, hey, just by the way, if you're really happy with our service, the fact that we came out after, we finished the project, my boss will actually give me $50 out of his own pocket if you leave a review. And I was just like, and the wife was like, oh my gosh, of course. And I was just like, this guy's a machine. Like, if the
Love it.
dog had thumbs, like he would have been asking the dog too, right?
Love it.
But so I took that idea and I was like, how do I apply that to my business? And so what I did, it was
Mhm.
around December. I added to everyone on my teams their email signature, and it said, be my personal Santa. Answer this one question, and my boss tips me $25, right? And all of our clients were like, oh, wait, your boss has to pay you? Yeah, what's the one question? And the one
That's
question I
awesome.
asked was like, why do you like working with us? Because like as a
Mm.
data guy, as a nerdy guy who like loves the graphs, I'm thinking, oh, it's the digital edge, right? It's all the good advice that I give, right? The number one thing people said they liked working with us is like, thank you for answering your email so quickly.
There you go.
And I was like, wait, what? Like, how?
There you go.
But it's
There you
because,
go.
right, going back to
Yeah.
trust, it's the fact that a lot of our agents are in a tough spot when they're working with us. So the fact that I
Yeah.
know that if I have a problem, you're going to get back to me within a half hour and give me a solution. Like that's the thing of like, now I trust you because you've shown that and you've earned it.
That's
And
right.
it blew my way. So like I went to my homepage and I rewrote the entire thing. Cause I was just like, I can't be leading with, oh, this is the reason why I think people hire me. I had to lead with like,
Yeah.
this is
Well, yeah.
the reason
Yeah.
people still pay me.
Well, you know what? And good for you to remove any ego and to remove like, they don't know what they're talking about. What I'm doing is great. And to actually listen to the market feedback and make adjustments. Because the truth is most people, there's a lot of people actually, growing up, I grew up a little rough. The analogy you give about the guy, I grew up in a neighborhood where it would have totally been, oh yeah, your boss will pay 50. Great. Let's split it. I'll write you the review. Like that's that's how I grew up. That's so it's the iron sharpens iron. That's just a tough off tough if you share that, which is still fine, which is like whatever.
Yeah.
But also like there's so many people that think that their way is the way and that are not coachable, that are not open to feedback, and then so on and so forth. Well, dude, we got about 5 minutes left. I promise to be respectful of your time. The $1 trillion question, the question that everybody's talking about, the topic everybody's obsessed with, or should certainly be obsessed with, the two magical letters AI. How does AI, fall into the conversation? Is how do we utilize it? Where does it sit with all this stuff? What's your take? I
So
mean,
I'm a
we could do 7 hours just on AI if we wanted to. So I get it's a little reasonable to pack in 5 minutes, but let's see what we can do.
I'm a huge AI nerd, and I probably spend on any average day between 4 to 6 hours using AI as my coworker. And I
Wow.
think I'm like in the deep end, right? I've taken the red pill. I'm all in. But I'll meet agents, right? And they're asking about how do I use AI? Maybe it's I'm getting introduced to it, right? Like they're using it to power their business, but then eventually the question comes up, wait, how do I get found in AI results, right? Because other people are using ChatGPT just like
Right.
me. How do
Right.
I end up in those results? And so I spent weeks sort of really diving into this of how do we get a business sort of to appear in the search results more often. And there's two big things that sort of we found. One is that like AI and LLMs, right? These large language models, they're looking for patterns and they're looking for the same thing being said in different places. And one of the biggest problems we had is we had a really top agent for us, like top 1% team in a coastal city in California. And they're huge, big team, 30 agents. And when you tried looking for them on ChatGPT or Perplexity or Claude, they would never come up. And I'm just like,
Mm.
how does it make sense, right? Like they're number one in Google, but in ChatGPT, they just don't exist. What we found was that their business name changed on every different platform they were on. So in Instagram, it was like the principal's name. Somewhere else it was principal's name team. Somewhere else is principal
Mm.
name team at Compass. According to
Mm.
AI, these are all different entities. And
Wow.
so the number one thing I tell people to go do
Talk
is
about
like,
feedback, huh?
Yes, it's like go check what your name is and what you call yourselves on every platform that you're on. So on Yelp, on the Google reviews, go to YouTube, go to LinkedIn, on every platform where you have a profile, make sure that the name that you're using is similar across all of those. Because if it's not similar,
Mm,
it thinks you're different people. And that's like one of the biggest mistakes I see people make. The second opportunity I would say is that I think like when people go to Google, they're still kind of doing the whole like best agent in zip code. I think with AI and where it's going, because it's our assistant, we're not saying who's the best agent in the zip code. They're more saying like, hey, the kids are getting older. They're going to be going off to college. I'm thinking about maybe selling the house, but I'm not sure where to go next. They're giving a lot of context, right? It's not just who's the best agent. And when I sit down with like these business owners, their expertise, their stories about clients, they're all in their head. Like the client
mm,
stories live in testimonials, but that's the client saying the story. That's not you. And I almost feel like there's all these amazing stories in your head, but none of it lives on the internet. And the thing that I'm telling everyone is like, take those stories and put them on the internet, right? Because the AI wants to know, oh, you're a veteran that's looking to move from this space to this space. Oh, there's an agent who literally specializes in helping people do that. And these are the three mistakes their military clients always try to make. That person sees that and go, oh my gosh, this guy is the expert in my problem. I'm going to call him. And so like
wow.
the big thing is let's take those stories about how we help our clients and just put them on the internet.
Totally. So smart. Hugo, oh my God, I could do this for the next 6 hours with you. I love your brain. I love your brain, man. I love the way you think. I love the way you approach things. So good. If people want to find you and work with you, I mean, and honestly, anyone could reach out to me and I'll connect you. But if they want to find you and work with you, how do they connect with you?
Yeah, go follow me on Instagram. I love I'm a huge I like to tell people like I like spilling my brain juice. Like I'm just like let me put it out there. Instagram's a place where I like to tell the stories about like what's happening in the spreadsheets, right? Like that's my passion is like how do we figure out how the pipes work? And so
Mhm.
Instagram's always the best place to just hear stories about what we're figuring out and how the world is changing. Because that's the thing, right? It's the world just never stays the same. And so it's not
Right.
about resisting it, it's about accepting it and being okay, how do we adapt with it?
The one constant, right? The one constant is change. It's the
Yeah.
one constant. Hugo, thank you so much, man. You have a great day.
Thanks for having me.
All right, man. Bye bye.